Ever pondered why we are often our harshest critics? It's a question that many of us find ourselves asking, especially when we're caught in a whirlwind of self-reproach. Whether it's a minor mistake at work, a misstep in our personal lives, or simply not living up to our own high standards, we have a tendency to berate ourselves. This behavior, while common, can be incredibly destructive. Consider for a moment the concept of the self-anger trap. It's a cycle that begins when we chastise ourselves for our errors. This negative self-talk leads to a decrease in our confidence and self-esteem, making us prone to more mistakes. These mistakes then fuel further self-anger, pulling us deeper into the trap. The irony of this trap is that we become ensnared under the guise of self-improvement. We believe that by being hard on ourselves, we will push ourselves to do better, to be better. But more often than not, this approach leads to the opposite effect. Instead of fostering growth and progress, we stifle it, trapping ourselves in a cycle of self-deprecation and frustration. The prevalence of this self-anger trap is a testament to its insidious nature. It's a silent tormentor, one that we often fail to recognize because it's wrapped up in our desire to succeed, to live up to our potential. But in reality, it's a destructive habit that chips away at our mental well-being, one mistake at a time. Yet, there is hope. Escaping this self-anger trap is not only possible, but crucial for our mental well-being. By understanding its nature and identifying its presence in our lives, we can start to break free from its grip. It's a journey that requires patience, self-awareness, and most importantly, kindness towards oneself. But remember, we all stumble, we all fall. It's part of the human experience. The key is to not let these stumbles define us, to not let them fuel our self-anger. Instead, we must learn to embrace them as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. Escaping this self-anger trap is not only possible, but crucial for our mental well-being. Consider the story of an athlete. Let's call him John. John was a promising young tennis player with a fiery spirit and an unyielding determination to win. He trained relentlessly, pushing his body and mind to the very edge of their limits. Every loss was a personal failure, a testament to what he believed were his shortcomings. John had a harsh inner critic, one that was never satisfied with anything less than perfection. Every missed shot, every lost game, was met with a barrage of self-berating comments. "You're not good enough," he would tell himself. "You should have done better." His self-anger was a constant companion, a relentless voice that never tired of reminding him of his perceived failures. But instead of fueling his ambition, this self-anger began to consume him. John's performance on the court started to decline. He was constantly stressed, his mind clouded with negativity. His mental health began to deteriorate, his confidence dwindling with each passing day. The more he berated himself, the worse he performed, creating a vicious cycle of self-deprecation and underachievement. John's self-anger had turned from a motivator into a tormentor. It clouded his judgment, made him doubt his abilities and robbed him of the joy he once found in the sport. His anger at himself, instead of driving him towards improvement, had become a roadblock to his progress. This self-anger didn't just affect his performance, it seeped into other areas of his life as well. His relationships suffered, his happiness faded, and he found himself trapped in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction and self-loathing. In his quest for perfection, John had lost sight of the most important aspect of any endeavor, the love for the game. He had allowed his self-anger to overpower his passion, to overshadow his love for tennis. He had forgotten that every setback, every defeat is but a stepping stone on the path to success. In the end, John's self-anger had become his biggest adversary. It was not his opponents on the court but his own self-anger that had defeated him. His story serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of self-anger and the importance of self-compassion in our pursuit of excellence. But why does self-anger have such a detrimental effect? Well, let's delve into the science behind it. When we speak of self-anger, we're not just talking about a fleeting annoyance at oneself. It's a deep-seated, pervasive emotion that has lasting impacts on both the mind and body. To start with the physiological effects, every time we get angry at ourselves, our body responds as if it's under threat. This triggers the release of stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. While these hormones are beneficial in short bursts, prolonged exposure can lead to a wide range of health issues. High blood pressure, heart disease, and weakened immunity are just a few examples. But it's not just our physical health that takes a hit. Self-anger has significant implications for our mental well-being too. When we're constantly berating ourselves, we're essentially reinforcing negative self-perceptions. This can lead to a decrease in self-esteem and self-worth, two crucial components of our mental health. And it doesn't stop there. This cycle of self-criticism and self-anger can trigger anxiety and depression. It's like being stuck in a never-ending loop. The more we get angry at ourselves, the lower our self-esteem drops, leading to more self-anger. It's a vicious cycle that's hard to break free from. Moreover, self-anger can cloud our judgment and hinder our ability to make rational decisions. It's like trying to see clearly through a fogged-up window. The more we let self-anger take the wheel, the less control we have over our actions and decisions. In essence, self-anger is a destructive force that wreaks havoc on our physical and mental health. It's a silent enemy that chips away at our well-being, one angry thought at a time. So, is self-anger a friend or foe? The answer is clear. Clearly, self-anger is a foe, not a friend. So how do we combat self-anger? The answer lies in self-compassion. At first glance, self-compassion may seem like a soft concept, perhaps even a bit fluffy. But make no mistake, self-compassion is a power tool. It's an antidote to self-anger, a balm for the harshness we often direct towards ourselves. But what exactly is self-compassion and how does it work? Self-compassion is composed of three components: self-kindness, mindfulness, and common humanity. Let's break these down. Firstly, self-kindness. This is the practice of being warm and understanding toward ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate. It's about replacing self-criticism with supportive self-talk, offering ourselves the same kindness we'd extend to a good friend. Instead of berating ourselves for a mistake, we can acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Next, mindfulness. This is about holding our experience in balanced awareness, neither ignoring our pain nor exaggerating it. It's about staying present, acknowledging our feelings without judgment. When we're mindful of our mistakes and struggles, we're less likely to get swept up in self-anger. Finally, common humanity. This component reminds us that all humans are flawed, that we all make mistakes and face hardships. It's a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles, that it's part of the shared human experience. Recognizing this can help us feel more connected to others during tough times, rather than isolated by our self-anger. When we practice these three components, our relationship with ourselves begins to shift. We start to manage our mistakes and tough times with more grace and less self-anger. Suddenly, our missteps become opportunities for growth. Our struggles become catalysts for resilience. Through self-compassion, we can transform our self-anger into a force for self-improvement, and that's a powerful thing indeed. So the next time you find yourself in the grip of self-anger, remember this. Be kind. Be mindful. Remember our shared humanity, and watch as the power of self-compassion begins to work its magic. Through self-compassion, we can transform our self-anger into a force for self-improvement. Ready to practice self-compassion? Here are some practical steps. First off, let's talk about mindfulness exercises. Mindfulness, at its core, is about being present and acknowledging your feelings without judgment or suppression. It's about allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, whether it's anger, sadness, or even joy. You might start with a simple breathing exercise, focusing on the sensation of your breath going in and out. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your breath. It's not about emptying your mind, but rather about being present with your thoughts and emotions. Next up, we have self-kindness rituals. These are small actions you can take every day to show yourself some love. It might be as simple as taking a few minutes to enjoy a cup of tea, or it might involve writing yourself an encouraging note to read when you're feeling down. The key is to do something that makes you feel cared for, valued, and loved. Remember, you deserve kindness as much as anyone else. Now, let's talk about fostering a sense of common humanity. This is the understanding that everyone, absolutely everyone, experiences hardship and makes mistakes. You're not alone in your struggles, and you're not the only one who's ever made a mistake. So, when you're feeling down on yourself, try to remember that. It's not just you. We're all in this together. And lastly, remember to be patient with yourself. Self-compassion isn't something that you can master overnight. It takes time, practice, and a lot of patience. So if you find yourself slipping back into old habits of self-anger, don't beat yourself up. Instead, acknowledge the slip-up. Remind yourself of the commitment you've made to self-compassion, and then get back on track. Remember, the journey to self-compassion is a marathon, not a sprint. So take it one step at a time. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more soul-nourishing content. Stay positive and keep growing.